Okay, so 2019, where is the Michigan Manifesto at this point?
Okay.
Is it alive?
Yep.
Gotta hear about the manifesto.
It's alive and well.
It is alive and well.
So take me through.
Even last year when everything was happening, I was like, hey, there's a manifesto. Like, even if he's gone, it doesn't matter.
I'm sure he knows exactly who talks shit about him the entire time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I know. He's got a manifesto on people that have talked shit.
Yes. No, I know exactly how that leaked. I know exactly who leaked it. I'm not going to say who, but when I saw, and here's how I know, because the article said something about 600-page Michigan Manifesto. 600 pages. That was in like 2018, 2019.
How big is this thing now?
It's got to be thousands by now.
Do you have it in like a hard copy?
No. So that's the thing.
Like an Old Testament book.
So I have the original, like how it started. So this is what happened. So okay, go to the Naval Academy, and I always go back to those legendary head coaches, right? They all have that one thing in common, military, right? So my freshman year, I'm like, well, wow, I'm going to learn a lot, and I need to have a place to organize everything I learn. I can't let one little thing slip by. And a lot of people, when they take notes, whatever, and then they just stack notes. And how do you know where to reference? I remember that one thing I read in that book. What was that book? It was about hiring and firing personnel. What book was it? And then you go through all your notes, and it takes you 2 weeks before you find the quote or whatever it was that you're trying to think of,
yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I used the way that the military organizes everything as like my foundation for how I'm going to organize my notes. And it started off as a binder, and then that got too big, and then I needed something electronically, so it went to a Microsoft Word document. And then I realized, well, I need to be able to capture any thought or any idea at any time. I can only do a Word document if I have my specific laptop. So then it translated to a Google Doc. So now I can do it from my phone, from anywhere. I can do it from right now. If you give me a great quote, pull up my phone, type it in. It's in the manifesto, and I know exactly where it is. So you could right now mention any thought, any concept of anything, all the way from leadership to the X's and O's of the game to equipment, anything, and I'll be able to put a quote or pull something. If you had like, hey, what are your thoughts on firing personnel? Well, I have probably 15 to 20 pages of notes on that, and I know exactly where it is, and it's super organized. It's just notes.
Yeah, it's notes, but it goes into a Google Doc, and then later in the documentary you talk about signs and all that. When did the manifesto evolve into seeing these signs and being able to break down?
You're talking about just deciphering signals in a game,
right? Is a manifesto a part of that, or are these two separate
entities? That was my first major
you.
task at Navy. So
your first major task was which?
At the Naval Academy with Navy football. So I'm student coaching now, and we're a week from game day, and I'm like, wait, what do I do on game day? Right. And this applies to me at Michigan too, and I started helping out. So like really in 2019 and 2021, there's no job description for me because I'm not an employee. Mm-hmm. Right. I'm just volunteer. I'm a volunteer student coach at Navy, and then I was a volunteer assistant at Michigan. So there's no job description. Why would you have a job description for a role that you don't even have? And then, I just kind of get my foot in the door and work my way in. So at both places, it started at Navy. I just say, so what do I do on game day? And I forget who it was, but one of the coaches said, well, I don't know. Let me look into it. But I remember last year we had a guy, he just graduated, who tried deciphering signals, opponent signals in game. And I knew nothing about it. I never did that in high school. I don't know. Okay. So I went in with a blank sheet of paper, a clipboard, and a pen. And our first game was Ohio State. And just started, that was the birth. And they talked about it in the documentary. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite quotes. I said, well, I got to be I am one of the dumber people at the Naval Academy. I mean, I was like the last person to get accepted, pretty much, right? And I struggle. I mean, it's very, very difficult, very difficult. But I'm like, well, these are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids in Columbus. Like, I got to be able to, if they know their signals, I can figure out their signals.
Mm-hmm. So it's a personal challenge.
Oh, it was like and it's Ohio State, so
right.
How
long in that game did you start to figure out?
3 drives.
3 drives.
Yep.
Okay. Can you break that down for me a little bit?
I mean, I don't remember. I don't rember exactly.
Right.
The play. I think they ran.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you have
lot,
a very good memory.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of games since then, but I just remember, it was both sides of the ball, whatever I could get, and I just remember getting their offensive signals pretty early and just not knowing what to do with the information. So I would just yell it out. And because there wasn't like a structure, no one knew who I was. Like,
right.
I'm 2 weeks into being a student coach. Like, they don't know who I am. Like,
right.
the OC knew who I was, but he's up in the booth, and like the director of football ops knew who I was. That was pretty much it. And the players,
right?
But so I'm just yelling like power left, like, who's this? It'd be power left, and then the next play, whatever it was, and it's you just gotta have a knack for it, but it's not rocket science. It's just signals.
Mm-hmm.
But still, you're in such a spot to where, again, you don't have like a job title, you don't have a description. Yep. Like, you're in such a militant law of attraction success. Like, I'm going to provide as much value as I possibly fucking can, so that way they can't ignore me.
Yes.
And then when is the point to where it starts to turn to where you're now becoming a valuable asset that they're leaning on? Just in your own role, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, you're doing the weather, then you're getting whatever the next thing is. To where it's
Michigan,
like, all right,
or Navy?
Either one. Either one.
Did Navy ever recognize you for like, hey, this guy's really picking up signals, he's understanding, this really gives us an edge?
Well, yeah, because they had a guy the year before,
breakdown,
mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, it's you know, and I say this too, like, even at Michigan this last year before I was suspended, signals was like 10 to 15% of my job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just one responsibility that I did. You're still, breaking down film, getting formation tendencies, stuff like that.
Right.
That
you did for Frank.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to skip ahead right now. It's on my mind. The best team to ever protect their signals was East Carolina last year, first game. And I'm not going to get into details on exactly what they did to protect, because I don't want to out them right now. They're probably still using it because it's pretty legit. But it took me 2.5 quarters to figure out which signaler was live. That's the longest it's ever taken me.
Really?
Yep. And it was week 1, so it's brand new signals.
Right.
So I pretty much go in with a blank sheet of paper, and I had a good idea of how to tell who was live, but they like flipped it from the year before. And I also did one of the formation breakdowns for our defense. So I knew, for example, every time it's 2x2, 4 removed, so no tight end in the core, and their only run out of that formation was quarterback draw. And I'm fast forwarding like the 4th quarter right now. We're up 30-0, and I'm watching there. I now know who's live, and I see him signal the 2x2 formation. And then I see one signal. It was like alpha with his hand. And usually, I mean, you guys understand play calls, right? Like, so
yeah, word association.
So if there's a formation and then one word, chances are it's not a pass, right? Because you'd have a pass protection and then the concept.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like if a huddle breaks really quickly, you're like, okay, it's probably going to be a run here. But if the quarterback's in there looking around everywhere else, you're like, all right.
He's tagging receivers and all that. And then also a lot of runs still have some tags to it, right? So only one word, I'm thinking draw or screen. So, and then this goes on in my head in like a second, right? So I see the 2x2, like doubles formation, whatever you want to call it. And then I see one signal. I'm thinking, well, that's got to be draw or screen, I would think. It was I think it was like 2nd and 5, and it was 2 minute. So, but in my mind, I'm like, this isn't really a draw situation.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also remembered 2019 Penn State, same signal was their quarterback draw. And that's the only time I've ever seen that signal. And I remember the breakdown I did, quarterback draw out of that formation. So I think you can see it because Coach Minter was the interim head coach that game.
Mm-hmm.
And they happened to be showing him, and I'm like behind him. I'm like, I think this is draw. And so we're yelling draw, 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 which is one of the worst feelings when you say, I think it's something, and then everyone's yelling. I'm like, oh, God, this better be a draw.
Yeah, you better hit.
Yeah.
And it was a draw, but they still converted a first down. But it's just like that's how many things have to go into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not just like look at the signal. It's not this like black and white thing. A lot of times I'm kind of, I think this is what it is, and so kind of how it works on game day is, in my mind, I have a threshold where if I am not 95% certain, I'm not saying a word.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to take a step back for this all to make sense. So in college football, all right, we're going to get into some really good details here.
Let's go.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So college football, the culture has always been to go up tempo ever since the mid 2000s, right? You don't see many teams that huddle. NFL, the culture is obviously to huddle. And I'm going to kind of mix last year to present day now because of the whole new quarterback comms rule. And everyone assumes that, signaling is over. No, signaling is picked up now. And to understand that, you have to understand the history of signals, just how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason signals exist is because of up tempo. It's not because there's no quarterback comms. It's because offenses like to go up tempo, right? I have not watched, disclaimer, I have not watched Ole Miss and Tennessee all that much this year, but I would assume they're still going up tempo. I don't see a world in which all these teams that are like snapping the ball with 30 seconds left in the play clock are huddling, all because they have coach to quarterback comms now.
Right.
So they're going up tempo, which forces the defense to signal, right? You can't huddle as a defense if the offense is spread out.
Right.
They'll just snap it and throw it over your head if you're in the huddle. So signaling will always exist as much as offensive coordinators want it to exist. And signal stealing has been more prevalent with offenses stealing defensive signals. So going back to 2018, 2019 with Michigan, our defense was getting our signals stolen left and right. Teams like Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, so on. Pretty much the whole Big Ten. Probably Nebraska.
Yeah. Probably.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong because
it's everyone.
Simplicity.
Except
it's
like Iowa and Michigan State. Everyone else is stealing.
Michigan State wasn't stealing.
I don't think so because they were the worst at protecting.
Yeah.
I was just going to say for simplicity's sake.
For you to say that about Michigan State, you're saying that they're the worst at protecting.
If you are bad at protecting, you're probably not stealing, right? Like if you, if you're good at stealing, you know what it takes to protect. So the teams that were really good at protecting, you can also look. They got a guy just like me, right? The media didn't go crazy about their guys, right? But everyone has a guy.
Everyone has a Connor.
Yes.
Some teams have multiple Connors.
Oh, a lot.
Well, we'll definitely get into that.
Yep,
Let's keep breaking this down because that is obviously a huge thing we want to talk about.
So we're getting our signals stolen left and right.
And that's because of the tempo you guys are facing and just simply
because, and just football in general, right? Like whether it's covering up issues as a play caller or personnel issues, whatever it is, you can always utilize and manipulate tempo to give you an advantage, right? To regain that advantage, right? And in a lot of times, especially in a world where everyone's signaling, you can even force the defense to signal before you signal. maybe not force, right? Because at the end of the day, if you know what's going on, it's just a cat and mouse game.
Mm-hmm.
You just wait until they signal and just call them out on their bluff.
And
like,
just to your defense too, like if being a defender, if an offense is tempoing you, the coordinator will kind of tell you before the game, hey, if they start tempoing us, there'll only be like 2 or 3 calls that they go to.
correct.
So you're almost understanding the tendency before it happens.
But also, they can tempo and then hard count.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So just to get whatever you're in, maybe you showed blitz or maybe you showed your safety shell or you showed too high, whatever it is.
Right.
They get to the line quick and they get you to kind of tell real quick, and then they call their play and they expose it, right? They're cover 4. Let's call it cover 4 beater. Oh, hey, they're bringing the nickel. They're dropping the buck. Let's throw a slant, to the slot right away.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that was happening to us. And so in 2021, the big change was, so when Coach McDonald got the job, he asked, he said, hey, he's new. He's been in the NFL coming back to college. And he goes, hey, how do we protect our signals? And I told him, I said, well, it's a cat and mouse game. You got to think of it like it's like red light, green light. If I'm watching them signal and I am not talking, that means they have not signaled. So don't signal, because then we're the mouse. You just have to wait for them to begin signaling. So, and it's not the sexy thing everyone wants to hear, but 99 times out of 100, they already know what they're calling no matter what. They just want to have the green light to call it so their signal doesn't get stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So usually in game, I'm looking. And if I say like, hey, trips Y flex, the formation, maybe I say like Y across to trips Y flex, which here's usual signals for like Y across, like Y across trips Y flex. Like it's anyone could see that and just say, hey, this is what the formation is. And usually he's calling the play just like that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like the coordinator was waiting for like, hey, is it going to be a run? Is it going to be a pass? It's more like Mike McDonald is a very successful college football coach and now NFL head coach, right? Jesse Minter is what are the Chargers are giving up the fewest points in the NFL right now? Yeah,
they're very good.
So these guys get paid to do what they do. They're not listening. They're not like calling their defense, waiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a green light to basically tell them, hey, you have permission to signal without it getting stolen. And that is kind of where it picked up in 21, where we were now no longer the mouse. It was all even playing field, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And what teams will do, though, like Ohio State, and I got a whole breakdown on every single play from 2018 to present day, Michigan, Ohio State.
Can we see it?
Yeah. Now,
from 2018 to present day, a whole breakdown of Ohio State's offense.
When Ohio State's on offense and we're on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched every play on film, and I categorized it. Who's the mouse? Who's the cat? And then sometimes it's just neutral.
The wash, yeah.
Yep. And here we go. So in 2018, Ohio State was the cat every play because they were picking us apart signal-wise, right? And they were running mesh. Every time we're in cover 1, they're running mesh rail.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we're blitzing, they happen to be in max protection. Take a shot. Every time we're in zone, they run the ball. Right. I mean, it's not a coincidence. I'm watching them. They have me in, Ryan Day's ear, and we signal, they talk, I see it. We talk, but we signal first. So we're the mouse.
Right.
And then, so that happened in 2018, 2019. So they were the cat every play, those 2 games. They averaged 8.15 yards per play in 2018 and 8 yards per play in 2019, and they had 15 touchdowns in those 2 games. Okay, 2021, it was a stalemate 72 times. Okay, so that's like they're signaling, and then we start to signal right after they start to signal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they were the cat 3 times. And here's how I categorize them being the cat. When they had a play called, so it starts off as a stalemate, And then Ryan Day gets CJ Stroud's attention last second because he sees what we're in. Maybe they got our signal, maybe they see our shell, whatever it is, and they change the play right before the snap. Okay, that's them being the cat. So our signals
They get the pen to
exposed.
paper last.
Yep. And then they were the mouse every time they hard counted that game. Here's why. In 2018 and 2019, every time they hard counted and then looked at the sideline, we already had our signal called, and we never changed it. So, I mean, they exposed us.
Right. So they know the zone, man, all that.
2021, I know their hard count signal. So I know when they're going to hard count, so we don't have to show a blitz or whatnot. They stole the wrong signal because we would change our call.
And do you know who Ryan Day's Connor Stalions is?
Yeah, but I'm not going to out anyone.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
As you shouldn't, but we know he's there.
Yeah.
Is he good at his job?
Yes, very. Yeah. So when they were the mouse, actually, I'll start with when they're the cat. When they were the cat, so they changed the play late 3 times. They averaged 9.3 yards per play. When it was a stalemate, they averaged 5.3 yards per play. They did score 3 touchdowns in 72 plays, so that's the majority of the game, right? When they were the mouse, they only averaged 4 yards per play 6 times.
And you said there were 72 total plays, or they
72. They were the stalemate. So it was 81 total plays.
Got you.
And yeah, I mean, you see when they're the cat, they average their most yards per play. All the way down when they're the mouse, they're not doing much. So their first the 2018 and 2019, they hard counted 40 times. You can go back and watch the film. They hard counted 40 times. 2021, 6, because it wasn't working.
Right.
Because they couldn't steal our signal when they hard counted, because we just basically played this cat and mouse game with them and didn't allow them to be the mouse or to be the cat every time.
When you're explaining this cat and mouse game to the coaches, how receptive were they to, hey, you got to essentially show
Mike
patience?
McDonald is amazing. He's one of the smartest people I've been around. And elite coach, right? He also empowered everyone. He's a great leader, and he would listen. So, it couldn't have been any better having him there. It was huge.
Yeah,
it's huge.
So
basically, he just hey, I'm the DC. I want to call the plays and focus on that. I don't want to get my signal stolen. Can you help me? Yeah, just wait till it's a green light. Okay, thanks.
Outside of the signal stuff, what situations were you in charge of breaking down?
Well, in 21, I was still in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
So that's when I was flying back and forth. So I just showed up on game day.
Okay.
And helped out. 22, when I get hired, recruiting, and then recruiting signals, and then it evolved into helping out with the linebackers.
Okay. Nice.
Formation breakdowns and all that.
Yeah. I'm so fascinated. Like, this is incredible.
Yeah. And you can see if you want me to keep going on this Ohio State thing, they weren't the cat one play in 2022 in Columbus. And they averaged 6 yards per play. And then when they stole the wrong signal because they hard counted, they averaged 5 yards per play. They scored 1 touchdown each in those situations. But it's funny. There's a video someone sent me of, it's like me by Coach Minter, 2022 in Columbus, and some guy is doing this breakdown saying, I'm saying run right.
Oh, you talking about where all 11 players just ran?
Do we have that clip?
It wasn't even, all right, first of all, I'm saying Nike, because that's what we called an opponent's hard count.
Mm-hmm.
Nike. And you can see the Nike board go up behind me. We have a board in Nike basically telling our, safeties, don't show a shell. They're trying to steal our signal right now.
Right.
Right. And be ready for us to change the call.
Yeah.
So if they look, we're going to change our call to make sure they stole the wrong signal.
This is the clip you're talking about right here?
No. That was after one of their hard counts. You see he hard counts right there.
Yeah, and the Nike sign behind it.
We had the Nike sign, right? But there's a different one where some guy does this breakdown on he's trying to read my lips, and he's saying run right. That's what he's saying. I'm saying.
Right.
But I'm saying Nike. And by the way, the run was to the left because it's from the defense's perspective, right? I'm not going to say it's a run to the right
Yeah.
when they run it to our left. Yeah, so I say Nike, and then you can see them. Hard count. Look, they just stole whatever we just signaled, and then
Sure,
we
I just
changed our
sent you that
call.
video in the group chat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we'll pull that up for sure because you see so many of these clips and videos of you and you're saying something to somebody and everyone wants to freak out over
no
it.
doubt.
But while he's pulling
I'm
that
actually
up,
protecting our signals.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of what I was saying.
Mhm.
I'm telling our coordinator they are hard counting. Call a play you don't want to call because they're trying to steal our signal.
So this is the clip right here of
Yes,
you're
that's
saying Nike.
Yep, you can see me say twin Y, Nike. And there goes the Nike board. You saw it go up.
Yeah.
And you see Ohio State hard count. So now they're all looking at the sideline. Now they're signaling. And then we call our other play, so they just stole the wrong signal.
And it goes for no yards.
Yeah.
Everybody there feasting.
Feasting.
Break down the there's this tight end screen.
Yeah.
I want to say the Houston Texans. Was
Stover.
it Stover?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said essentially like it's a formation we've never done it out of. We've never ran this play out of. And he was beside himself on figuring out how you guys knew that.
I just sent you that clip too, Sherm.
Yeah.
Insane, incredible awareness by the defense and understanding that it was a screen.
Guys just in the film room,
Guys just in
24/7,
the film
man.
room.
Dialing it all in.
So I don't remember what formation it was out of, but
Can we pull that clip up before you explain it?
yeah.
Was that to Bussin?
Yeah, just scroll up. That one right there.
Mm-hmm.
Do they show the play?
No,
Oh, they don't?
Yeah, they
but
don't show the play.
Okay.
we could pull it up.
Yeah. Yeah, see it, yeah.
It
Try to type in
was,
something to pull that out. But yeah, I'm thinking about it in my head.
It had to be first quarter, because they were going the same direction.
Yeah, dude,
It
I
was
am
right by our
obsessed with
silence,
this. I love
around the
this.
25, 30-yard line,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
This
It was right in front of us. I just remember
Right, it was,
right
into,
in
the,
front
it
of
was
us.
into the boundary in front of you
Yes,
guys.
correct.
We're getting to, you called this play that they had not run before, but you were able to decipher it.
Yes.
Is this one of your top 5 calls?
It
Is this like a
it
top
backfired,
5?
though. It backfired. CJ Stroud turned around and everyone was right there and he scrambled and got a first down.
Oh,
Or at least got significant yards.
Was this in
Frank's
22?
FaceTiming me right now.
22? Is he? Answer it. Dude, Frank was a war daddy at Michigan.
Frank, we're on the bus right now.
What up, Frank?
Frankie, what's up, baby? What you doing? What are you going to Tejas for? What you doing? That's awesome, man. Well, I hope you're doing well, brother.
Yep, I'll hit you up after. Yep,
See you, Bob. Love.
that's
love
funny. Already gave him the shout out.
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
do we
that
have-
tight end screen,
Yes.
whatever the formation said, here's the thing. Ohio State had like 8 signalers all year, something like that. And everyone signals the formation. Mistake number 1. Like, I don't need to know who's live to see what the formation is.
Right.
Anyone could see that. Mistake number 2, they never changed who their live signaler was the entire season.
So I guess their Connor Stalions isn't that good then.
Apparently not as good.
They didn't do it.
Let's go.
They didn't do enough self-scouting.
Correct. So and here's the bottom line of how can you be so good in game? I just realized,
Is this the clip right here?
is this it?
This is the tight end screen.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. Slot YY. So I think they motion into slot YY and then
Also, that's a cut block. You see that cut by the running back? I'm pretty sure that's a
Yeah.
penalty.
yeah.
That's just Stroud making
So
something.
they
Stroud is
signaled
such a
their
dog, too.
signal for the slot YY formation, and then the guy who was live the entire season signaled why delay?
I
Am
mean,
I
that's-
supposed to see that and be like, oh, I don't know what this is?
right.
Right.
So you call it
Like,
out.
I think this has got to be a why delay screen.